Everyone, it's just gone 6 o'clock, and we will still have, I think, a number of people joining us. My name is Jonathan Deal, and I've looked forward to this meeting with you for some time. It's going to be the first of many town hall meetings. And on that note, if you would like a private meeting or a closed group meeting for your sports club, your family, your community, your business, any group of people that you would like, please let me know. I will hold a meeting like this for one person, 100 or 55, it doesn't matter. Every single person that we can reach and influence is very important. So welcome to all of you. And if I appear to be looking up into the sky for inspiration from time to time, I actually have quite a big whiteboard in front of me, right up close against the desk, which I'm using for my notes. So that's why I look up into the sky. Welcome to the Safe Citizen members, our visitors this evening, our first-time visitors, and our volunteer team. There are a number of people from our volunteer team with us this evening, and you will get to meet them on other and more detailed interventions that we will run and ask you to attend. Particularly welcome to Andy Sewell, who has pulled this meeting together, and it was centered around a rural farming community in the northwest, I believe, called Skierpoort. And welcome to Andy and all the members that would be attending from Skierpoort. Andy is a co-host of the meeting, and also on the meeting with us is Ibrahim Mohammed, who is on our board, and both of them will be acting as co-hosts. And guys, I would like you just to keep an eye on the members that are joining the meeting to make sure that their mics are muted and their video is switched off, just to save bandwidth for everybody and obviously to avoid any background noises. The next order of business is just to talk about briefly the protocol in this meeting. First of all, it is being recorded. The recording will be available to all of you and to any member of the public that asks to have a look or to view the meeting after the fact. And from that point of view, the protocol that I would like to apply in the meeting is that we can have robust discussion. We can have robust engagement. I would not like any, to mute there quickly. I would not like any personal comments about any person, any institution, any political party, nothing personal whatsoever. Let's keep this completely professional. Let's deal with it in the way that we would like to be dealt with, and it is a hallmark of Safe Citizen that we engage in a civically responsible manner and with due regard for the sensitivities of everybody in our country. So, having said that, I think the first thing I'd like to do is just clarify the three legs of this meeting. And in the first one, I will clarify the Firearms Control Act and the Firearms Control Act amendments, which are planned by the government, and perhaps sketch the outcomes of that. Also, I will refer briefly to the PSIRA Act, PSIRA, which is controlled by and on behalf of, or not by the security industry, but for the security industry by government structures, and how the PSIRA Act can also very much impact on community of safety were it to be promulgated in its current form, or the amendments to that. And the second leg will be to talk about uniting diverse communities behind a shared safety agenda, because that's what tonight is about. It's really uniting diverse communities behind a shared safety agenda. And finally, the third leg would be growing Safe Citizen, the members, volunteers, and the local chapters. And I had planned to talk about this later, but I think it's a really good opportunity to talk about the longevity of the leadership of Safe Citizen. Under no circumstances do I want to be one of those leaders that hangs around well past their sell-by date. So whenever there are people and a specific personality or person who has the opportunity and the ability to fill my seat, I will be delighted to step aside and support them from the sidelines. This is not about limelight, it's not about ego, it's about community safety in South Africa. Some background that may be useful is that I founded Safe Citizen in 2020, and it was around the fact that I could see that community safety and security was starting to wane in South Africa and that there were problems coming. And so I decided that a structure that would allow the public to communicate around public safety and to be united would be useful. And it wasn't a year later that the Firearms Control Amendment Bill, the first one, was presented by the government, to great howls of outrage from political parties and the formal firearms fraternity alike. And also around that time was the unrest in KwaZulu-Natal, which spread in a limited measure to Gauteng. What was interesting was that the spread of that unrest from KwaZulu-Natal to other parts of the country was significantly curtailed by lawfully armed citizens of all races and creeds and colors standing together at street corners, protecting their neighborhoods, and even going to protect official installations. So it was a very dramatic demonstration for the citizens of South Africa and also for the government as to the power of lawfully armed citizens standing together. Subsequent to that, I've kept Safe Citizen idling along. It is very difficult to motivate and mobilize the public when there isn't an immediate threat. People, as one of our volunteer members recently said in a meeting, people are busy with the daily struggle. The daily struggle of meeting their budgets, of making ends meet, of putting food on the table, of simply running a business or working as an employee. And people find it difficult to become concerned or excited about something that may or may not happen in the future. We've reached a point in South Africa where the public at all levels is increasingly concerned about safety and security, community safety and security. And I think that the time is ripe for us to break all of the traditional barriers that have so long separated South Africans to actually work together and start developing safer communities. So I'm going to let go of that soapbox now, or that theme, and get off my soapbox and talk briefly about the focus of Safe Citizen. First thing that I want to say is that Safe Citizen is apolitical and acultural. We will welcome, embrace, and work with any person or any group in this country and even globally who is law-abiding and who can conduct themselves in a responsible manner. Everybody is welcome, and there will be no divisions between Safe Citizen members whatsoever. That is an absolute fundamental precept of the way that we will work with our membership. A fundamental of Safe Citizen, of course, is community safety, and critically important there is that we will be, in our conduct and in everything that we do and everything that we say, responsible and law-abiding, civically responsible and law-abiding. We have a close relationship, in fact, with an organization called Dear South Africa that puts out an excellent platform to people who would like to comment on developing legislation. And Rob Hutchinson from Dear South Africa puts it thus: his dear comes from democratically engaged, accountable, and responsible. And that is how I would like you guys to be: democratically engaged, accountable, and responsible. So, the first leg of this meeting is basically to talk about the Firearms Control Act and sketch the specific outcomes or potential outcomes. So, some background here, because I'm aware that we're dealing with an audience here who have not necessarily been focused on firearms possession, lawful firearm possession in this country at all, and who may be joining here simply out of a concern for and an interest in community safety. So let me give you a short background of the Firearms Control Act. Prior to 2000, firearm possession in South Africa was controlled and administered by a piece of legislation from the 1960s. And there were a lot of shortcomings in that act, a lot of things that people might have enjoyed, like, for instance, give you a very quick example. If I wanted to lend my son my pistol, I could write him a letter and say, "Dear Travis, you can have possession of my pistol for serial number so-and-so for 2 weeks from today," and sign it. And he would carry that note with him in his pocket. And were he to be stopped by somebody who could ask him for his proof of being able to possess that firearm, he could simply show the letter from his dad, or his friend, or his uncle, or his brother. So clearly stuff like that couldn't work, and certainly wouldn't work in today's climate. So in 2000, the Act, round about the year 2000, the Act was revised, and it became the Firearms Control Act 60 of 2000. There have been various amendments since then, and it is a robust piece of legislation. And as it stands now, right now, today, without any amendment, it is perfectly suitable for the control and administration of the possession of licensed firearms in this country. There is no need for it to be amended at all. There may be a few of the regulations that could be amended, tightened up, neatened up, refocused, but no major and material amendments. For instance, like dispensing with Section 13 of the Act, the ability to possess a firearm for self-defense. Dispensing with the opportunity for people who are sport shooters and hunters to be able to reload their own ammunition in the face of ammunition shortages from overseas and the enormous cost of ammunition. So the Firearms Control Act is a robust and appropriate piece of legislation. In 2021, the ANC, not the ANC, excuse me, I'm not talking about political parties, I'm talking about the government. The government presented a Firearms Control Amendment Bill, and that proposed various restrictions, one of which was basically stripping out the ability to possess a firearm for self-defense, which was nonsensical then, and it's nonsensical now. There was a lot of opposition from political parties and the formal firearms fraternity with a lot of objections. The state was challenged, and basically the state, represented by the police and the Civilian Secretariat for Police Services, unofficially, informally, just withdrew the act. They didn't pursue trying to promulgate it. In the formal firearms fraternity, we were all aware and expected the act to return. And so it did. Around about the third quarter of 2025, we started getting whisperings that it was being discussed by NEDLAC, which was an organization concerned with trade and industry, who were holding various committee meetings. They invited an organization called BUSA, Business Unity South Africa, and which is when I found out about it at Safe Citizen, to have meetings around the discussion of the Firearms Control Act Amendment Bill. And so in August of 2025, Safe Citizen led the charge, asking firstly BUSA and then NEDLAC on what basis they, as two commercial entities, were qualified to be able to discuss and arrive at conclusions around this very important piece of legislation on behalf of South Africa. And the parallel that I put to them was, can you imagine if Safe Citizen or GOSA or Saga or Natshoot or anybody from the firearms fraternity decided to start discussing on behalf of the business community trade tariffs with America or labor law, completely out of our field of expertise and not within our mandate as all. And that resulted in, first of all, NEDLAC kicking the can down the road. They cancelled the meeting that was scheduled, and they held a meeting, I think, on the 4th of December, which by all accounts turned out to be a farce. There were, I think, over 336 people or organizations and people invited to that meeting. I counted from watching the people joining. I didn't participate in the meeting as Safe Citizen, but I counted, I think, 76 people actually on the meeting, less than this meeting tonight. And the state was fiercely embarrassed. South African Police Services withdrew their presentation at the last minute. A commercial company was afforded the opportunity to pitch their product to the nation, ostensibly, in a national forum to discuss legislation. The Civilian Secretariat, I believe, was significantly embarrassed at not being able to provide scientific evidence of their claims. And so it was the farce that many people, and including Safe Citizen, predicted that it would be. May I also just clarify, for the reference of anybody watching, I was not at that meeting. So I'm drawing on the detailed reports of people like Damien Ensland, the chairman of SAGA, who was at the meeting and who provided that sort of feedback. And the formal firearms fraternity were very united in that meeting, and they presented a hard front to the government, and the government left with a lot to think about. Nevertheless, the Firearms Control Amendment Bill is alive and well, and I have it on good authority that the state intends to push it forward in no uncertain terms. So there are two things to that. In a campaign like this, and I have been involved in these campaigns before, two legs. The one is the legal side, and let me speak about that first. So the formal firearms fraternity, the training institutions, the gun dealers, the sport shooting associations, the gun owners associations are a group, and they have a very significant vested financial interest in the continued possession of lawful firearms by South Africans. So without dropping names and giving free advertising away, any of you can think about the gun dealers in this country, including the very large ones, and look at any of those stores, just one of those stores, and try to estimate the amount of money that is invested in one of those stores and all of the stock and the staff and the buildings and the facilities. So the formal firearms fraternity, particularly representing South African Arms and Ammunition Dealers Association, has a very vested interest in making sure that lawful firearm possession in South Africa continues. And it is them who are more organized and more mobile and more nimble from a legal perspective than the South African citizens that will be expected realistically by people like myself and by organizations like Safe Citizen, and probably by you too, to stand up and, when necessary, challenge the government in court. Okay, so a challenge even at high court level can within days run into hundreds of thousands of rands, if not more than $1 million, depending on how many counsel and attorneys are involved. And the formal firearms fraternity has got that money, and that must be pursued. That is the arm that will drive this thing to an urgent interdict, if necessary, against the state, to the High Court for a more sustained action, eventually to the Supreme Court of Appeal, and possibly even to the Constitutional Court. And if it can be driven to the Constitutional Court, and if we, the wider community and the formal firearms fraternity, can win there, we will forever bury this question of lawful firearms ownership in South Africa being something that the state can attack whenever they feel like doing it. Okay, so that is the legal leg of this campaign. The other leg is the public. And clearly, the public cannot be represented effectively by a group of licensed firearm owners. I did some math, very elementary math, simplistic stuff, mostly mental. I have a good idea of who the sport shooting and gun owners associations in South Africa are, and I have a good idea of how many members they have. So I did some maths and I added up, and then I thought, okay, I might have left out 50% of them, so I doubled it. And my figures came to around 0.43 or 4% of the population of South Africa are lawfully licensed firearm owners. That is not a number that will impress this government in terms of raising an objection to a piece of legislation that would be passed. In fact, I could put it thus: if every single licensed firearm owner in South Africa put on his best Sunday suit and went and danced in front of the union buildings all together, I doubt that President Ramaphosa would even leave his morning tea to come and have a look at them. It is just not of a lot of consequence to the ANC. Again, sorry, excuse me, I don't need to go to the ANC, to the government. So we need to engage the broader public here. And the reason for engaging the broader public is simply because this is not an issue simply of firearm rights, it's of community safety. But it is an undeniable fact, an undebatable fact, that a lawfully armed and competent and responsible citizen is an asset to community safety wherever they live. For people that are on this broadcast tonight who are not armed, if you live in number 7 and your lawfully armed neighbor lives in number 9 and another neighbor who is unarmed lives in number 11, number 7 and number 11 are automatically safer by virtue of the fact that there is a lawfully armed, competent and responsible citizen living between the two of them. And so is the street safer, and so is the block safer, and so is the neighborhood safer. With regards to the disarming of the security industry or the virtual 80% curtailment of their ability to have possession of firearms to render their duties. And I'll give you a snapshot of the changes to the CERA regulations. I'm not even going to talk about firearms. I'm going to say to you that in the CERA Amendment Bill, the government is pushing that security officers who wish to use handcuffs in the execution of their duties must have special permission from the government to use handcuffs. I ask you, a security officer. The security officers will be forbidden to use pepper spray. Those are two of the most innocuous items in the arsenal of a security company. You can imagine what the government's plans are with regard to the possession and use of firearms by the security industry. And let me put it to you this way. Unless you live in Pofadder or 50 kilometers from Pofadder alone on a farm, if you have moved in a village or town or any other or a national road today, you have been vicariously protected by somebody who lawfully owns a firearm. It might have been a security officer at a shopping mall. It might have been a security officer at a taxi rank. It might have been a SAPS vehicle traveling on the roads. It might have been one of your fellow citizens who was armed and competent and able, if necessary, to come to your rescue. So you or one of your family have been protected today by a lawfully armed citizen. Those of you that are not armed and who choose not to be armed and who have armed response, the difference between your armed response and the trigger on my pistol is about 10 minutes or however long it takes your armed response to get to you. At the end of the day, you are still relying on an armed person to arrive where you live or where you need them and come and sort the problem out. So I hope that I've made that point about the value of firearms in a society, that a firearm is an intrinsic and necessary element of a civilized society. Firearms are used to protect our leaders. They're used to protect our national installations. They're used to protect our borders. They're used to protect rock stars. And they are used to protect private citizens. And they are indispensable. When a court issues an order, whether it is for maintenance, or whether it is a personal protection order, or whether it is for any type of court order whatsoever, civil or criminal, that order is backed up by a policeman with a gun. Because if you continue to disobey that court order, eventually you will find yourself facing a policeman with a firearm who will arrest you. So a firearm underpins the absolute fabric of society, a lawfully owned firearm. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox now because I'm probably preaching to the converted. Uniting diverse communities behind a shared safety agenda. I have long been aware of the fact that a small group with a specialized interest, like gun owners, cannot be representative of South Africans in general, and that it will not get the government's attention. I am absolutely enthusiastic and delighted to report to you that in the last week, there have been developments in Safe Citizen around social media, around alternative media, and even around mainstream media, and around social influencers that is going to take us into all of the communities of South Africa in a significant and a sustained way. And finally, we have broken through. I think that because of the safety and security situation in South Africa, the time of Safe Citizen has arrived. And it is absolutely enormously exciting. So everything that we do tonight is actually just a broad brush sketch of what Safe Citizen is about and how you can get involved. And we will start breaking it down. This is going to be available on our media and on our website as to how you can start implementing the concept of Safe Citizen in your communities. And there are many aspects that one can talk about from a safety and security point of view that you can do in your community, in your home, in your street, your block, and your neighborhood. And I have a concept of developing a safe community, and it's basically called house by house, block by block, street by street, neighborhood by neighborhood. And I'm one of those people that is guilty of living in a neighborhood in the past and not knowing my neighbors. I don't know their names, I don't know their ages, I don't know where they work, I don't know how many children they have, I don't know what their schedules are in terms of coming home and going to work. And if they need me or I need them, we're both in the dark. So it is going to be the type of thing where people will learn to reach out and meet their neighbors. And this extends to the rural communities. And actually, the rural communities are a little bit better at this than the people in the suburbs. They're more inclined to speak to each other because there are less people. And sooner or later, you're going to bump into each other at the chemist, at the co-op, at the petrol station, at the supermarket. And so it's really about getting people together and getting people to work together. Talking to you guys about reach. On this group, I haven't been watching how many people are with us. I've no idea. There's quite a full screen of people here. But the reach here, whatever the reach were, if there were 10 people on this meeting, and each of you know and can influence 100 people, that's 1,000. And if each of them can reach and influence another 100, it's 10,000, or however much it goes. My maths deserts me sometimes. So the point is that you can reach a lot of people. This is an organization that it doesn't cost anything to join. It doesn't cost anything to meet with us. And it will expand our voice in the public in South Africa in a way that gets the attention of the government. So we can start playing a role in defining our own safety and security. Beyond the immediate threat of the Firearms Control Act, and I've already sketched to you how important it is that we need to stand up against that, we need to be holding the government accountable for managing the crime environment. And on the 4th of January, Safe Citizen delivered a document to President Ramaphosa, the Minister of Police, the Civilian Secretariat for Police Services, and the Portfolio for Police Services, the committee, the Portfolio Committee for Police in Parliament, in Cameron. It was delivered electronically. It was also delivered by hand. At this point in time, I have only heard from the Civilian Secretariat for Police Services, the director with whom I interact there, or Safe Citizen interacts, and they are interested in discussing that further. The basics of that document, and any one of you are welcome to visit the Safe Citizen website and go to the media section, and you will be able to find that document there in a PDF format for you to download, is that it presents to the government various options that they ought to be considering for managing, for their role and their responsibility for managing violence in South Africa. In other words, for not trying to hold a small group of accountable and law-abiding citizens, like the licensed gun owners, responsible for the use of firearms in violence in South Africa. We are not responsible for the overwhelming majority of the use of firearms in violence in South Africa. They're not our firearms and they're not our violence. And this document is not a definitive document, but it raised, I researched it scientifically for some weeks and I put a lot of work into it. And it is not something that can just be dismissed out of hand. So they will have to consider it. And I suspect that if and when there is a court procedure around the Firearms Control Act Amendment Bill, that either Safe Citizen, if we can find our way into that court at that time, or one of the firearms owners associations will be able to hold that document up and say to the architects of the Firearms Control Amendment Bill, who are pushing to have that made into a law, what did you do with this document that was presented to you in January 2026? Did you consider it? Did you even look at it? Did you apply your mind to it at all? And I think that that will be a powerful question. Because if you want to govern, and if you want to run a country, I think you need to step up and govern and step up and run the country. And not seek to hold a small, minuscule group of lawfully armed people responsible for your failures in terms of community safety and security. So that, beyond the immediate threat, the second leg of that is developing the safe community. And I've already spoken about that, what we intend to do there. It is phenomenally exciting and you will all receive it. I hope that you are all members of Safe Citizen, and if you haven't joined, please go and do it. It's for free. It doesn't cost you a cent. After you've joined, you can decide whether you would like to send us 10 Rand a month or 100 Rand a month or 50 or 1,000 or 10,000. It doesn't matter. And you are not under pressure to donate. But the power of the people here and the people that they can reach, donating even in small amounts a month, is enormous. Please don't think to yourself, I can't send 10 Rand a month, it's embarrassing. If you think it's worth 10 Rand a month, send 10 Rand a month. If you think it's worth 1,000, send 1,000. Your money will be put to good work. I think on that basis, at that point, I am going to open for questions and answers. Please try and keep them as brief as possible. I will rely, if you don't mind, on the two co-hosts that I have, Ibrahim and Andy, to assist me in managing that. And I'd like to take those now. If you don't mind, can I please have a quick break for a minute? Thank you very much. Time for a little bit of humor, actually. I've never had so many people waiting for me while I had to attend to a call of nature. And the clever people, the clever people will tell you that you have to drink more than 2 liters of water a day, but they don't take into account the fact that you might be hosting a meeting. Okay, so I'm ready to receive your questions. Anybody? And I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. I'm not seeing, it's an open mic. Martin, did you want to say something?
Yes, Jonathan. I thought about asking about the time frame around this new act. How fast do you think they want to implement it? And then what would be the time frame around us doing something about it? How urgent is this for us to be doing something about it?
Martin, I think that from what I can gather after the NEDLAC meeting on the 4th of December, the state has a lot of work to do on panel beating their approach to the Firearms Control Amendment Bill, if in fact they are going to bring it back. I did mention earlier that the indications that I have, the information that I have, is that at high level there is a lot of support for it in the government. But I don't think it's going to be quick. And if it is reintroduced and it will be presented to Parliament for comment, one of the forums that it will have to go past is the Portfolio Committee for Police, because it falls in that jurisdiction. We will all have an opportunity to comment on it then. Safe Citizen will most certainly be there. And probably within, if it's going to reappear, I would imagine within the second quarter of 2026, given that we're already almost at the end of January, or sort of at least halfway through January anyway. Where are we? The 15th. We're halfway through January. So I would say if it's going to reappear from March onwards, so it's not something that's going to happen in the short term, and it has to walk a fairly rigorous process at that point.
Yeah, Jonathan, there was a question that was posed in the on the text. Will you only focus on safety, or will you also focus on the hunting industry?
Thank you, Ibrahim, for flagging that. I actually saw it coming up as well. I was just looking for it now. The hunting industry is in the new act, the provisions, or if the new act, if they were able to bring it into being, is equally hit as hard as sport shooters are. And we will focus basically on all aspects of the act. In 2021, Safe Citizen presented a document to the Civilian Secretariat and to the government based on those proposed amendments that was a very comprehensive piece of commentary. In fact, it was so comprehensive that my good friend, the well-known attorney, Mr. Martin Hood, contacted me, complimented me on that submission, and asked if he could use some of the content of that in the submission that was going to come from him on behalf, I think, of various clients. So it was a really good commentary. And when and if this act is presented, Safe Citizen will address every single aspect of it. Hunting, for those of you that don't know, is an enormous contributor to the gross national product of South Africa. Enormous. Not only in terms of the local hunting industry and all of the industries that it supports, but also in terms of people that come here from overseas to support the safari and hunting industry. So we will definitely be involved in that. Anything else? I want to just see if I can pick up some other stuff that I wanted to speak about.
Jonathan, if I
Yeah.
may, first of all, thank you for the work you guys are doing. I've known you for a good couple of years, and I know when you get your teeth stuck into something, it doesn't go away. You stick to it, and mate, you've got all my support. What I want to know, this bill has not been put through Parliament, but you know, there's a couple of people that I know that actually spends a lot of money on sports firearms. I mean, if you look at the decent IPSC open category firearm, you're looking at the 150K plus. Now, this is actually some of them that I've spoken to had said this, and they're a bit reluctant to actually spend that kind of money at this stage because they don't know what's going to happen to the bill. Is there anything you can say to put them at ease and put us at ease if we want to invest in further equipment, or should we keep it on hold and look what's going to happen to this thing going forward? Thanks, meneer.
Paul, thank you so much for the comments and the question. I think that it's relevant probably to a lot of people that are listening this evening. My advice to you is to pursue your sport, choose your firearms, and make your applications. I think that the formal firearms fraternity, more than ever, are absolutely united. They are going to present a very formidable adversary to the government. And if through forums like this one, we start standing together as a community, and I can promise you, and I don't make promises that easily, I can promise you that Safe Citizen is going to be engaging the public of South Africa in numbers and in areas that the government never expected. So go ahead, have the confidence, invest in the firearms. If you receive, which is a sport shooting, is a 10-year license under the current act, there is very little that anybody can do to you without an enormous social fracas and legal fracas happening in this country, and I don't see it happening. So I'm continuing to invest in my own sport shooting firearms, and I would like to encourage you guys to do the same thing. Have the faith in the power of the law-abiding people of South Africa.
Jonathan, there's another question by Eddie Mokobori. Can you share any plans to campaign to the general public at large, people who may be unaware of the act or bill?
Eddie, thank you very much. I'm actually going to share just a snapshot of some of the social media stuff that we're going to be doing. So the way to reach people, and we have been quite successful with this, and the town hall meeting like we're holding tonight is quite a personal meeting. It's a personal audience. They all log on to it on purpose. And it means that they are all concerned and already relatively well informed about the issues. So town hall meetings is one thing on the campaigning, and I'm relying on all of you, even you, Eddie, to go out to the people that you know and say, hey guys, in my family, in my soccer club, in my workplace, would you like a meeting with Safe Citizen? I can arrange for them to speak to us as a group. So that's the one small way of publicizing this. But the bigger ones is the media. It is through community groups. It is through neighborhood watches, church groups, the elders, sporting groups, and reaching the young community through, for instance, music stars and influencers. We are going next week into Radio 786 in Cape Town, a long-established radio station where we will be setting up the scene and the foundations for a series of discussions around community safety. We will be extrapolating that on the back of that successful performance to other radio stations around the country. We are looking for radio stations like Josie FM. We are looking for media who are concerned, like City Press, and TV media or YouTube media like Biz News, who are already carrying a lot of Safe Citizens community interest stories. The print media or online digital media like Newsday. And that is the way that we will start reaching people. So when I talked about reach earlier in this meeting, Eddie, it was exactly that. If you can go out and share this concept with other people and join Safe Citizen, make sure that you share our meeting invites to the next town halls. It's going to help us to get into the community. And as somebody said to me today, somebody who is going to turn into an enormous supporter of Safe Citizen and who is coming to the board of Safe Citizen. You guys will meet him next week in the Safe Citizen email. He said to me what he likes about this is the membership of Safe Citizen is free. You don't have to give credit card details. You don't have to wait for some confirmation. You join, you are a member, and your voice is activated immediately in the community. So thank you for that question. I think it was important for a lot of the people that are here tonight. Any other questions? Okay, guys, my call to action to you tonight, if you're not already a member of Safe Citizen, join us. Share the message with everybody that you can. Influence people. If you'd like to join us as a volunteer, you will be welcomed. We are expanding our volunteer network. You will be welcomed into our group and made to feel welcome. Andy, I'll come to your question in a moment. And remember to set an example by the way that you approach this, by the way that you speak about it, the way that you are civically responsible, and the way that you understand that all the citizens of South Africa need to work together to make this work properly. And guys, donate. Take the time. I don't work on a credit card system. You don't have to give your credit card number. I don't want access to your credit card number or your CVC code or anything else. Go onto your banking network and create a payment to Safe Citizen. If it's worth 10 Rand a month to you, 10 Rand a week, 50 Rand or 100 Rand a month, do it. Because 1,000 of you at 100 Rand a month is 100,000 Rand. And that buys the advertising muscle that we need. It pays for bumper stickers. It pays for all sorts of expenses to enable to get the stuff through the public. Andy, you had a question.
Jonathan, thank you so much for putting the meeting together. Really appreciate it. I know you put a hang of a lot of work into these things, and I'm particularly excited by the document that you sent to His Excellency President Ramaphosa. I was wondering if we could maybe share that with the public that are here tonight. I know it may well have already been shared. Don't want to put you in a spot or do it prematurely, but I think it would be good for folks to read through that if they will just take the time.
I think, Andy, thank you for that. Absolutely. It is in a PDF format, and it's available on our website. I want to just put something maybe on the front of the website. I'll speak to our website manager tomorrow just to direct people to easily find the document and to share it. It is in PDF format, so it's very easy to share. But of course, we don't have this group of people on a WhatsApp group at the moment. What I will do is put it as a PDF document on the WhatsApp channel. And when you chaps got the invite to the meeting tonight, at the bottom of that invite, it said join the WhatsApp channel. So I'm going to share that document straight onto the WhatsApp channel as well. And from there, in a PDF format, it's very easy. A PDF, as you guys know, you can read it very easily on your cell phones. It's not like a Word document or something that gets all jumbled up. So thanks for that, Andy. It is a mouthful. It's 36 pages. It's quite technical, but it presents a researched view that the government can't just say, we'll ignore that. Please, this guy's smoking his socks. They have to answer it. Or if not, if they don't answer it and they don't engage with it, they may find themselves having to answer it in a court at some stage in the future. So thanks for that. I've gone through that call to action. In terms of ending off this meeting, and we are running almost onto an hour, which is really good timing. I think that I could say that united, lawful, and informed communities are safer communities. United, lawful, and informed. And maybe I need to switch that around. Let's become informed about what's happening around us, become united, and at all times be lawful and be safer communities. And I would like to encourage you to join Safe Citizen to protect your rights, all of our rights, save lives, and work within the law to make South Africa a safer place for all citizens. If there are no more questions, I would like to close with inviting you, please don't be embarrassed to send us a mail, and I'll come to you, Andy, to send us a mail or a WhatsApp and say, hey, Safe Citizen, I only have 10 people interested in our community. We have a very specific community issue. Will you meet with us as a private community? Or would you like to just invite us to another broad outreach again? It's open to you. No amount of people is too much or too small. Andy, your question?
Thanks, Jonathan. Not so much a question as a comment. Guys, please do take the time to invite your friends, your family, all the folks that you know around South Africa. This is an issue that is going to affect all of us, whether we like it or not. You don't have to sell them on the concept. All you have to do is invite them and ask them to take up their own opinion. Would you agree with me on that, Jonathan?
Absolutely. We will do the work, as you've heard tonight. I'm taken by the fact that there are still 2 full pages of people's names here, that the content has been interesting, it has been rational, and it has made sense to you, and that you are engaged. So please do. You will not be embarrassed. Stick your neck out, go out and influence people and encourage them, and keep on joining our town hall meetings. I will keep on bumping up the number of people that we can accommodate on a Zoom meeting as much as is necessary. And on that note, if there's nothing further, I would like to bid you all a very safe and peaceful week and look forward to seeing you soon.